Using YouTube as a way of generating leads and attracting clients to get business has been a game changer for myself and my business partners over the last couple of years. But there's definitely been some lessons learned along the way. So today I want to talk about some things I've learned that have helped me get better at getting more leads in the first place and doing a better job converting them once they're in the pipeline. And if you're new here, my name is Jacob. This is a channel where I like to talk about all things content marketing, YouTube lead gen, SEO, the whole shebang. That's what I'm here for. So let's get right to it. I'm gonna give you the 5 up front and then explain these in a minute. I'm working off a sticky note today because I have a webinar I have to go to in like 20 minutes. So the first thing is having more people in the YouTube videos than just myself. Second thing is better B-roll and just better editing. The third thing is varying thumbnails and having different ways of doing thumbnails so that they all don't look the same and have the same pattern. The fourth is having better content on our website, not just YouTube. The fifth is having more of a streamlined process and a set conversation that we have every time that a lead comes in once they're in our inbox from YouTube. Now, for context, the industry I've really applied this to is real estate and mortgage. So over the last 2 years, it's my biggest channel. We've got in about $40 million worth of leads, which sounds more impressive than it is just because the numbers are always big with real estate. But look, I think that some of this stuff really applies to anyone running a service-based business, whether you're a brick and mortar or not. These are some of the lessons we've figured out that helped us with clients from YouTube. So the first 3 things are about the actual YouTube content and YouTube channel itself. And the last 2 are kind of independent of YouTube content, but they go along with it, especially if you're someone who's using more than just YouTube as your marketing channel. So let's get right to it. The first one, having more people in the videos than just myself. So when I started making content on YouTube, it was just me, myself, and I did have partners that I worked with and I did have some help on the sales side of things, but at the time I was also client facing myself for 2 years, which means that people watched videos of me, they reached out and I was the one who answered and I was the one who closed the deal. As I stepped out of the daily operations and I was no longer the one working with clients myself and closing deals, we noticed there were a couple times where there was kind of a shock factor that happened multiple times with clients reaching out where a lead would come in and then suddenly Jacob's not the one answering the phone and Jacob's not the one closing the deal. And for some people, that was a bit of a turnoff. So we started trying to set better expectations by referencing the fact that there are other sales partners I work with and that, there's more of a team than just myself. But really what we did was have my sales agents come into the videos with me. And that way there's at least a different face on the channel than just mine. Now this has kind of a 2-pronged effect that I've noticed. The first is that having someone else in a video just allows more personality. Like there's more character that each of us can show, whether it's Kelly, Madison, Tracy, whoever it is. Having someone else in the video just shows more personality that I think viewers can latch onto better than if it's just me. Like when I'm here with someone shooting the shit, doing whatever, just having a chit chat moment, I feel like we do a better job showing just like us being real. That doesn't always happen when it's just one person in front of the camera. And I noticed that with podcasts that I listen to, where when it's just a one-person podcast, I like it, it's good, but I also really like the podcasts where it's 2 people or it's 3 people who just kind of chit chat and they're giving information, they're giving helpful advice, but there's also just like these moments of just like chit chatting and like kind of bullshitting each other during the episode. And I'm not really a big fan of like highly produced professional looking content. I like more of an amateur style. I like to be relatable. I like to be human on camera, and having more than one person in a video helped with that. The second thing is that it just kind of eliminated the barrier when leads would come in or clients would reach out to us and someone else answered the email or answered the phone call and it wasn't Jacob. There wasn't as much of a shock with that. So that once people have seen one of my partners on a video, there's no longer kind of that, oh wait, like who are you? We don't want to work with you, we want to work with Jacob. And what we noticed originally is that when we get on the phone or get on a Zoom call with clients, the first time is usually the only time any question ever comes up of, oh wait, who are you? Where's Jacob? We want to work with Jacob. He's the expert. But once I started having more people in the videos, it kind of lowered that shock factor, just kind of made it easier to get off on the right foot with people that we work with who come through the YouTube channel. The second thing is better B-roll and better editing. So like I said, I don't aim for highly produced videos, but I've gotten better at using B-roll and using different effects over the years. And having editors that I've hired has helped tremendously. But I started off getting B-roll on my iPhone and that was great, but you know what really made my videos like a shit ton better is if you're anyone doing like local content, let me show you what you need. Getting this bad boy was insane. It was game changer. This was like, I think little drone, it doesn't look like it, but like it folds out. This was like $950, I think. And then I had to get a different battery. I got a different SD card and just like insurance and whatnot. I was all in on this for like 1,300 bucks. But I just noticed, and in the comment section too of the videos, like having drone B-roll, just having like crisp footage that just looks really great. And that way I can explain exactly what I'm talking about and then show like this perfect video of what it looks like. And that, along with just having better explanations through graphics or through map illustrations or something like that, just make the videos a little bit more interesting than having a talking face, especially if you're explaining something local, like if you're in mortgage or if you're in real estate, explaining like very specific areas. Having better B-roll, I think, makes a big difference. Highly recommend the drone. The cost was off-putting for me for a while. That's why I kind of waited a little bit to get it. I was hesitant, but now that I've got it, could not go back to not having it. I love that thing. Now the third is with varying the thumbnails and trying to make them all pretty different and avoid having the same style for each one. Now, originally when I started on YouTube, I tried to make my thumbnails pretty similar in that there was similar text, similar colors, a similar design, and even I would use like the same photos of my face on different thumbnails because I thought that having consistency like that would make it easier for someone to recognize my videos again and again. But what I heard someone else say and kind of started looking at a different way is that having all your thumbnails look the same kind of makes it feel like someone's watched it already. Like even if it's a new video, but if it follows the same thumbnail design as everything else, it might make people think that they've already watched it or that it's just the same old, same kind of information, and it might not be as appealing for someone to want to click on it. Now, instead of doing that, I started just playing around with doing thumbnails a different way, messing around a little bit. And honestly, like I just said, fuck it, let's try some new stuff. I used new colors, new pictures. Some of them have my face, some of them do not, and I don't really think there's a better way to do it. I think having combination works great. And we definitely saw, you know, a difference in click-through rates, that kind of stuff. I mean, I'll show you what my thumbnails look like originally and how you can see they're all a little bit different, but they all follow the same pattern. Whereas now I'll show you some of the fresh ones and we've just split tested and, you know, watched the performance over time. And I think that the second half does way better just because it adds more variety and it's not the same old with the thumbnails we're doing. Now, I know that might sound like a small detail, but if you think about it this way, you could have the best content in the world, but if it's not packaged correctly with a thumbnail and a title, not enough people are gonna watch it, no one's gonna see it, no one's gonna click through and come do business with you if they don't actually watch the video in the first place by clicking on it. Now, the fourth thing, and this is kind of going away from YouTube as a platform and more like our entire marketing strategy, having better website content. Originally, I treated our YouTube content and search optimized website content independently. I know they work together, but I really didn't do any cross promotion. I didn't really mix the two. I would use YouTube to generate business from there, and I would work on our website and do evergreen content and backlink outreach and more social viral content to, you know, promote our website. But what we noticed is that people would come from one and go to the other. So people just doing their own research would find our YouTube channel and then, you know, start popping on Google and doing some research there. And likewise, people who originally found us through our SEO and on our website would then go search on YouTube and find us as well. So instead of treating them separately, which at first I wanted to treat them separately so that they're not, kind of we could measure them independently and see how well each one is doing. But what I realized is that either way, no matter how much I try to keep them separate, people are going to go and cross from one platform to the next. Basically just having better content on our website that people can find through YouTube and vice versa, I think made a difference as far as just being able to capture more of the market who is looking for the content that we're putting out there. Now, the fifth tip that really helped us with converting leads that we're already getting is having more of a streamlined process for how we handle them when they come in. So from YouTube, from our website, all that kind of stuff, we have a lead form, but really the biggest way we got business is from having a phone number and an email address. And what we had to get better at is having more of like a set response or set conversation that we try to have when a lead comes in. So that way we can say, hey, let's get on the phone, we have some questions we want to ask you. This is our process. We're going to explain, hey, here's what you should be thinking about. Here's how we do things. If you don't like this, we might not be a good fit for you, but here is the full explanation of our own process. And going off of that, with having more of a streamlined approach to how we handle our inbound leads, is having one person as the designated person to handle them. So when there were multiple people who had access to the email account or the text platform, there was more confusion with answering new text messages and new emails, because it was kind of like, hey, did you answer this? Or I thought you were gonna get that. Or like, hey, did you get that yet? I think it's just way easier to have one designated person to handle the leads when they come in. And I mean, honestly, here's the thing too that we've done, is that if someone reaches out and they say, hey, Jacob, or hey, Madison, or hey, Kelly, when they reach out to us, if that person's not the one answering the text when they first come in, we just sign it off that way. Like, we just say, if it's Madison answering the text, we might just sign it off as Jacob if they think they're talking to Jacob, and then transition to the phone call saying, hey, I'm gonna have you get on the phone with Madison and she's gonna walk you through our process. Instead of having that barrier when they first reach out of, oh, wait a second, this isn't Jacob, leaving that to the phone call, so that way when they're on the phone with us, it's easier to address those concerns than over text, because we found that sometimes people would kind of fall off and then kind of ghost us if they found out that the person they were speaking to wasn't who they expected in the first place. And if you're using some kind of email or a social media account or a phone number for reach outs in the first place, even if it's just you who's handling the business, if you're a one-man operation, I would still try to set the foundation and plan for the future possibility that you might not be the only one on the team, or you might not be the only one doing sales, or that you might eventually not even be doing sales at all, and you might have a team to delegate that to, and kind of implement in your content a way to make that transition. Because if you are doing everything yourself in the first place, that's great, there's nothing wrong with that, but I would recommend just at least plan for some way where you can transition off to other people when you get to the point where maybe you have more business than you can handle, and you're gonna need salespeople to help you out with that. So those are just 5 things that I've learned. I hope this was helpful. If you have any thoughts or feedback, just shoot me an email. Would love to talk and hear your ideas. Outside of that, thank you for watching. I truly appreciate it. Hope you take care, have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.